sa buong mundo. Ito ay Pinoystream, connecting Filipinas across the globe.
Kayo ay nakikinig sa himpilang makula na Pinoystream Versatile Radio, spreading love across the Filipino nation.
Ang susunod na palatuntunan ay isang bayad na pagsasahimpapawid. Ang mga salita, opinyon, kuro-kuro at komentaryo na inyong maririnig ay mula sa tagapagsalita lamang at walang kinalaman ang pangasiwaan ng himpilang ito.
Kasaysayan sa puntong legal. Ang palatuntunang maghahatid sa inyo ng kasaysayan ng ating bansa noon, ngayon at bukas. Kasaysayan sa puntong legal. Kaalamang batay sa puntong legal. Hango sa mga utos ng kataas-taasang korte ng Pilipinas. Ilalantad ang mga katotohanan mula sa panlilinlang ng iilan na nagdulot sa atin ng kahirapan at pagkasira ng lipunan. Itatama ang kasaysayan na konektado sa ating buhay at kinabukasan. Kasaysayan sa puntong legal. Inihahandog sa inyo ni Ginoong Benjamin Narvaez Garcia, isang economic researcher. Kasaysayan sa puntong legal.
3, 2, action.
Magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. Ako si Mr. Benjamin Narvaez Garcia, ang economic researcher researching for the proper and right legal ownership of the Philippine land, Philippine archipelago, which has been decided by the Kasaysayan Court on March 14, 1914. That fact alone erases or terminated the Public Land Act done in August 1st, 1902 under its termination clause. Therefore, the Public Land Act existing today is not true and correct and unconstitutional. So from that point on, there have been twisted ownership of land, especially when the LRC, Land Registration Commission, in court directed or presented to the court that all OCT starting from 01 up to OCT 100,000 are null and void without origin and unbankable, except 01-4. That has been a testimony of the administrator of the LRC, Attorney Noblejas, together with his assistant, Attorney Bilog, and then followed by a Supreme Court order, July 14, 1964. Yes, an order. An order po, walang kalaban, yung may-ari ng lupa. In fact, that case is called an error of the presentation of the Republic of the Philippines. At it carried on after admission of the guilt of the LRC. The next court is 3957, and the 3957 was combined with 997. Therefore, the 997 with index of P and the 3957 with the index of P were combined together, and the Supreme Court order was also impressed upon the 3957-P. The 3957-P objective is to eliminate or quieted all the titles who basically owns the OCT 1 until OCT 100,000. One of them, including the Republic of the Philippines, the PNR, PLDT, Meralco, Ayala, Ortigas, Jacinto, Posadas, so many. Okay, there are basically 88 of these entities that owns a false and unconstitutional OCTs. In fact, Ayala uses the all OCT 383 used for Makati. The OCT 383 was divided into 4 TCTs. 2 of them was named in the Ayala SIA. 2 of them have been named after Ayala Corporation. And the development went on, and well, it's a good thing that Ayala built their own. Likewise with the Ortigas. And after that, Ortigas is claiming all of the lands they're using their own. In fact, one of the factors is that the quiet place that became to be a fantastic place is the high valued housing in Green Hills. Okay, the next one would be Forbes Park, Corinthian, Dasmariñas, and so many other advanced system or housing and development. The FTI, which has been a violation settlement of President Marcos, came from the 423 Presidential Proclamation 423, wherein it was signed July 12, 1957, President Carlos P. Garcia. And the initial instruction or pledge of the President, Carlos P. Garcia, is not to sell, to make settlement, and will be exclusively used for military reservation. And the fact that there is a law or a rule that any military reservation must be kept as military reservation. If you introduce commercial value or entity in the military reservation, the military reservation will be turned over back to the owner, which is Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado. And when Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado Sr. dies, or it will follow the Roberto Pidino Madrigal Acopiado as the sole owner of the Macapiado estate, done January 3, 1949, in the document, the first document of the Central Bank of the Philippines, and who signed the President of the Philippines, Elpidio Quirino, and the President of the United States, Harry Truman, including General Eisenhower. Okay, so the basic question is that all of these things that happened, they have basically a Supreme Court order, again in July 14, 1964. After that, there was even a decision during President Marcos' martial law that was done in August 11, 1976. And if you look for that Supreme Court order, it's dictated by basically more international court. The first international court was International Court of Justice. And the thing is, there was an agreement made in the Central Bank of the Philippines that all the commodities and including properties of Acopiado will be returned back to his person in 2005. Now, in 2005, in August 12, 2005, that was the last date that the decision with compromise agreement, rather no, I have to correct the bilateral minefield successor breakthrough agreement done on August 11, 1950, and to mature August 12, 2005, it promises the return of, number one, the 400,000 metric tons of gold, the 217,500 metric tons of gold, the 1 million metric tons of gold borrowed by the Americans, the 2 million tons of platinum, and the 2 million tons of diamond that the Americans borrowed, the United States of America. So those things will be returned to the Acopiado's heir. And by this time, are there heirs of the Acopiado? Yes. And they're just waiting for the action of the Republic of the Philippines. And after that, the failure of the Republic of the Philippines to prepare for the return of the Acopiado assets and land came an action of the Committee of 300 demanded that President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos to return those things. However, as the government failed to adopt the return on or after August 12, 2005, in August 21, 2015, under the order of the International Court of Justice, all the bank accounts of President Edralin Marcos was closed, okay, everywhere in the globe. And then the Filipino commoner and its government, therefore the government is the Republic of the Philippines, has no right to claim the commodities and land that should have been returned by the Republic of the Philippines. So that's still final. So no one can in fact touch on the commodities that has been named under the agreement of President Marcos in 1965 between the Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado Sr. and President Marcos. That's why there was changes in those documents, and eventually it came to a problem of remembering who owns the property and the asset. Okay, as a matter of example, because of the ruling of the Supreme Court, under the Supreme Court Second Division, GR number 205367, dated February 23, 2015. It says here that they're still using, validating the old OCTs that has been declared null and void by the courts. Okay? And also with a Supreme Court order. There were 3 Supreme Court orders I know currently, again in July 14, 1964, during martial law, August 11, 1976, and the last instruction of Chief Justice Reynato Espuno is to implement the 3957-P ordered to the court administrator, which did not happen. What happened was, in December 11, 2009, the CAGR SP number 714, all the documents of Acopiado have been marked null and void, which cannot be done because there were orders of the Supreme Court prior the action of the Court of Appeals. Now, it could be true if you apply it to Taliano and the identified name Gregorio Madrigal Aco, okay, which is basically a false identity. Again, the action of Taliano is basically to downgrade the Philippine economy, okay, which is not, of course, as I research, the upper views of the politicians and the oligarchs of the Philippines increase that problem of land ownership. Until now, there basically so many land ownership problem. Why? Because the database of the LRA was not changed by President Marcos, but instead declared martial law on September 21, 1972. He forgot about the decision of the court, which he adopted, the 3957-P, and was converted to decision with compromise agreement. The problem there was in page 88 to 90, it showed under the testimony of Father Jose Antonio Diaz that they looted, let's say, forgot to, they don't own the gold, but they removed the gold from the vault of 45 metric tons of gold in September of 1963. During the time, President Adelin Marcos was the Senate President under the banner of the Liberal Party, together with the President Diosdado Macapagal as a Liberal Party. That's why they basically destroyed the gentleman's agreement, wherein they agreed before that Senate President Marcos, as an LP, will take over the second term of Diosdado Macapagal. And they agreed in a gentleman's way. However, when President Macapagal learned about the loot that he doesn't know, and also the owner doesn't know, the Don Anacleto Madrigal Sr. doesn't know, he got angry, and he joined basically the second term to be president. And President Ferdinand Marcos moved to National national NP, political. So he won in 1965. Okay. The problem with the creation of fake titles all over the Philippines, because as I heard before, the LRA keeps the record. Okay, because we're basically in a portion of computerization. In computerization, if you don't know, the main thrust is to create memories, which is called database. But if the database is basically wrong, then all the result of the transaction of those database are basically false, which is right now happening in the database of the LRA. And the deeds, the register of deeds in the Philippines are quite amount of spares in the Philippine archipelago. And once you go there, you'll be entertained by false database of the LRA. Okay? Which basically was to be corrected. If we compute in March 14, 1964 until 2021, barely basically 105 years, the Acoplado family lost the basic use of their own land. In fact, the patent system given by the government to the farmers, and they did not explain that patent system is supposed to be a lending of land for planting, not their ownership. Now, if banks basically use this patent system as a collateral in their loan, then all the titles, the land titles in the bank, they are false already. So what will happen? There is a slow movement of our economy. The point is, all rich people get richer and all poor people gets poorer. Okay? And that's why it became to be good lands are basically contracted by people to put up squatters. As if you put up squatters, they own the property. It cannot be. In fact, there was again a called Lina law that protected people that is living initially in government lands. But the problem, there is no government land. There's no government land. The government land, as dictated or was ordered by the Supreme Court, is only 4,420,460 square meters in La Mesa Dam in Old Balara, borrowed by the Philippine government from Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado, starting in the area of President Osmeña until President Carlos P. Garcia. So after that term of lease rental of that Laguna Lake, La Mesa Dam, sorry, they bought it for 22 million. The government bought it from Acopiado for 22,500,000. And supposed to be that La Mesa Dam is supposed to be a public area. Okay? And the one that agency of government operates that is the NAWASA, MWSS. That is a public corporation. However, the recent business brains of our politician, they offered the operation of the Tlamesa Dam to two private companies. And of course, if you say private companies, they are engaging revenues from the public. Question: when MWSS run pipes on the ground, then it's okay because that is a public land and the only consume is water. We cannot charge, of course, the government use of the land. Now, when a change of structure that the La Mesa Dam will be used by private contractors, then all the pipes that lay on the ground, okay, will must be charged by the true and legal owner of the property, including basically North Diversion Road, South Superhighway. All of this highway, they run through lands which basically is not a public land. And they have not paid the right of way to the legal and true owner under the torrents registration system. If you say torrents, you must follow the rules of the LRC. But of course, President Marcos changed that into a group that will verify the titles. However, when that particular group was investigated by Congress, it turned out to be selling fake titles, especially in this driving range in Nichols. And it was sold for 200 million. And they found out that land cannot be sold in the first place because it's part of the Fort Bonifacio, which cannot be sold anyway. Okay. Again, that's a violation also, that when President Cory Aquino left, before she left the office as president, she signed Republic Act 7227, creation of the concurrently named Basis Conversion Authority, which cannot be done in the first place under our Constitution. Okay? And who basically implemented that? The next president. The next president is President Fidel Ramos. That's why it's called the management sale of the Port Bonifacio. Remember, Port Bonifacio was then called Fort William McKinley. And Fort William McKinley, the original size then was from Pasay City down to Ayala, Alabang. However, after the Second World War, they reduced the size of Fort William McKinley from Pasay City down to only Bicutan. And it was borrowed by President Carlos P. Garcia in, again, July 12, 1957. As I said, again, he will not sell any property in Port Bonifacio. He will not settlement of the property, and it will be exclusively used by the military or military reservation. Again, what is again the violation? The violation was basically given housing for the army, housing for the Navy, it's no problem. However, when they started charging the officers who use those housing, then again, that's a violation because it must be free. Once 1 peso being paid for that use of the land, that's a commercial undertaking. Again, upon the rules that was been set, when you do a commercial undertaking in a military reservation, then it will be reconveyed back to the owner. Again, which is Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado. When he dies, then he will follow the only heir. Okay, to follow is the Roberto Pidinho Madrigal Acopiado. And when he dies, the one will follow would be the eligible wife. Why eligible wife? Because during the time in February 4, 1972, Roberto Pidinho Madrigal Acopiado was single, an old bachelor, and he married in 1998. Okay, and they have one daughter and 2 sons. So again, the wife became a administrator and executor up to this date. That has been assigned by the court, not anybody else. So therefore, if the thing that is to be said, that the wife and the 2 sons and the only daughter would go to the court and arrange all the properties, it's too large. Okay, but anyway, what is the point of having a decision of the court that we will not follow? Again, it says there, either heir or the eligible wife of Roberto Pidinho Madrigal Acopiado, eligible wife, with the suit that it is within the basis of the old man. The old man is the Don Gregorio Madrigal Acopiado, the father of Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado Sr. Okay, so there is no more debate about who is the real administrator today. And of course, there was a problem wherein Danny Pranesa was removed by Roberto Acopiado in the year 2008. Okay, so he was removed. It was basically published, but he was fighting for it, and Roberto Acopiado is getting to be sickly that time, so he cannot attend the charges brought to him by Danny Pranesa. And Danny Pranesa basically actually won, but the problem of winning is something else, because he's just saying that he has, or it depends on how you word it, deed of assignment. Deed of assignment is to be a contract between a person of ownership and the person of a contractor. The contractor right now, basically, as you say it, is Danny Pranesa. But that is a halfway undertaking to absolute deed of sale. Therefore, if you say that, then there is a division, a measurement of land again, and there is a price to be paid, and the timing of price to be paid, because if you pay the price, the right price, the agreed price, and then there is a time to pay it. After that time, they will execute the executive, or they call it absolute deed of sale. Again, the basic problem then was, had Danny Pernas paid all the taxes of the land? That's another question. So again, all the authority given by Roberto Pidinho Acopiado, when he died November 10, 2014, all of them, after his death, has been terminated. So don't go around people telling that you are an agent and interest of Acopiado. You're not. Now, if you wanted to be an agent again and to renew that authority, you need to go to Jocelyn Acopiado to revalidate your authority. Again, as I've said, if somebody is trying to be an executive administrator, you cannot do that. Okay, because in the first place, executive administrator is a decision made by Roberto Acopiado, and he turned it down anyway in 2008. So no more executive administrator. You may find out that the deed of assignment must be checked by the court, through the court, if you wanted to, against Jocelyn Acopiado, the true legal administrator and executor of the Acopiado properties or estate. Again, there was also a exclusive or last will and testament made by Don Gregorio Madrigal Acopiado Sr. and Doña Trinidad Pudinho Acopiado in January 3, 1949, wherein all the estate, Acopiado estate, was given to only one person. Okay, after Don Gregorio Madrigal Acopiado, the son, of course, Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado, okay, and his only favorite grandson of Don Gregorio Madrigal Acopiado was a Roberto Pidinho Madrigal Acopiado. All of the estate. Then after, following that, moving forward, when Don Anacleto Madrigal Acopiado died, all the sisters and brothers, including the mother, Doña Trinidad Pudinho Acopiado, signed a document, a quitclaim and transfer of right document in favor of Roberto Pidinho Madrigal Acopiado. Okay? So they cannot turn it back anymore because concurrently, according to some sources, all the brothers and sisters of Acopiado, of Roberto, made an agreement to themselves that they are the administrator, which is wrong because the Anacleto Jr. is not the Anacleto Sr. Okay? And by law, you cannot adhere that you are the administrator of the Acopiado estate. Only the one that's been assigned or directed by the court, the 3957-P, that the eligible wife. And who is the wife? Jocelyn Acopiado. Okay? And if you look at the two sons and daughters, okay, which they are trying to build a doubt about it, then, well, you can go to court anyway, so to test it out. Then, if there's a court order to exhume the body of Roberto, then you go through the DNA and try to prove it. Then go to court. That's the one thing that will settle the score. Okay? Again, the problem is all the question about the ruling and the processing of land transfer, land ownership, and a lot of agencies in government. That's why there was a very problematic study of Senator Pimentel, okay, the father of the senator today, and Senator Jaworski. And the decision was that there was a question. Why is it there are several agencies of government who can issue titles? Number one, through DNR, okay, to the what do you call this, LRA, or through RD, to the another entity which is the what do you call that, the ITAS. They have right over their land, and basically you can basically use, the government is saying that the land that has been given to them is a government property, which is very wrong under the Constitution. Even 1935, it was changed by President Marcos in 1973. It was changed by President Cory Aquino as 1987. So what will happen to our Constitution? Okay, and if we are not under our Constitution, that's a problem, which is, I guess, we're not. That's a guess. As I've said, you'll be loyal to your Constitution. After the Constitution, you'll be loyal to your president. The first is the Constitution, the next is president, not the other way around. Okay? To run the country, this beautiful country. Again, what is the torrent system? The torrent system is a measurement of the land of the earth. It does not matter if there is water on top of the earth. So if there is seas, like in the Philippines, we are covered by water, and the water is owned by the owner of the land. See, even though we have several islands, it's also one owner. As I said, one OCT, the true OCT and the legal OCT under the torrent system and under the Constitution is OCT 01-4. What does it mean? Original Certificate of Title 01-4. It covers basically until there, the Puga Island in the north, and the south is the Sabah. Okay, there has been basically a decision by the 3957-P and was converted to decision with compromise agreement as recommended by President Macapagal and adopted by President Marcos. Why adopted? Because they did not follow the separate decision with compromise agreement. The objection was if the separation of those documents, and it will tell only the processing and the methodology of 3957-P, why not? Why will you not change it? Asked by the lawyer of Don Anacleto Madrigal Ocupado Sr., which is retired Chief Justice Perez, or I forgot the name. Well, anyway, I forget the name, and it was approved by President Marcos. What is the change of President Marcos? The rate of land, okay, that will purchase. There is a rate of land as formulated by President Macapagal, and there's another rate of land under the Marcos regime. And another request of President Marcos then was to reserve 46,000 metric tons in the name of Ms. Ailey Romualdez Marcos that will be paid by the American associate of the Araneta family. There were basically rates already and schedule of payment. But instead of paying, President Edgarlin Marcos declared martial law in September 21, 1972. See? That's the escape of following the Supreme Court order. So where is the violation? Well, you may think of other violation, but there are so many violations in the first place. Okay, and as I've said, I've been talking to some people that they're crazy about the ownership of the land, because that's the intention of Taliano in the first place. When Taliano failed to do that, it came to be another person, became the name TVM, Tiburcio Villamor Marcos. That's another entity, which basically borrowed all the documents or the identity of Don Anacleto Madrigal Ocupado. And he was promising everything that he owns it. Okay? But that's not true. See? That's a problem. Because this Ocupado Madrigal family, as mentioned by the court themselves, they are royal family. Those are the reason why they've got this land, the big land, the Philippine archipelago, and the reason why they were asked by President Rojas to lend gold to open up the Philippine Central Bank, or the Central Bank of the Philippines, and was also requested, of course, with a special person, a very bright lawyer, which is Attorney Ferdinand Edgarlin Marcos, during 1949. But before 1949, which is 1948, President Marcos was hired as a legal counsel of Don Gregorio Madrigal Ocupado, not to just withdraw 640,000 metric tons, but to change the name from the father, Don Gregorio Madrigal Ocupado, okay, which died in year 1942. So what will happen to the account if there is no transfer of account from the father to the son? Because the only son of Don Gregorio Ocupado and Doña Maria Carmela Sarmiento Madrigal was Don Gregorio Madrigal Ocupado Sr. That's why at, attorney Ferdinand E. Marcos was hired to transfer. But when he went to Vatican, he was with Father Jose Antonio Diaz, which basically is authorized to withdraw gold from the account of the acopiados. And they withdrew 640,000 metric tons of gold in 1948 and brought it to Manila. And the government, through the central bank, borrowed 617,500 metric tons of gold. Now, when the Americans borrowed some gold and platinum and silver, they left 400,000 metric tons of gold still sitting in the central bank vault, which is supposed to be returned by the government after August 12, 2005, which did not happen. Again, the 217,500 metric tons will be freed because President Marcos was trying to get it anyway, was stopped by the ICJ through the petition of from the court Committee of 300. See? Those are the intricate participation of President Edrin Marcos to the land and quantities of commodities that will make the Philippine roll over, and the economy will be benefiting the poor people. Okay? Because right now, how can you tell? If you look at your title, we've been taught to read, but we are not taught to think rightfully and legally about the title. Look at your title. If it comes from not 01-4, that's a fake title. Again, if the title does not originate in 1864, that's a fake title. Because the root of the title was in 1864. The first deed of the Philippines, Spanish deed. That's why there is a marker there, okay, of 1864. If you don't see that and 01-4, those are fake titles. Okay, that's a problem. So you ask basically a question, will solve the problem. And again, there is also a possibility that will help basically some squatters that being forced to pay by the syndicate, or people that basically a relative, for example, in Manila, which I know I was asked, people are basically trying to extort money from them and trying to survey the place. The people that went there doesn't have any ID at all, but the one that is being run after is the surname Manila. But if you want to test it, then test it in court. Because as according to the last statement, I heard the administrator of the LRA, Judge Bermeo, said, we only keep the records, but if you talk about ownership, you go to the court. That's good. Because again, the land title of Acopiado went already to several courts, and it ended up in the cadastral court in March 14, 1914. I think no one can beat that. See? That's why, again, from 1914 to 2021, there is no productive use of the Copiado family about this. Okay. I have some readings here, but I cannot read it so fast. I hope that the question will be put into my email so I can read. I cannot read, that is too fast. In my hold on please. I will try to read and answer the question. Hold on please. Okay, hold on. Yes, Ayala and Araneta po. Kasama rin ho yan. Ayala and Araneta. As I said, Ayala uses a OCT that is being declared already as fake. OCT 383. Look at your title. If you're in Makati, look at the title. Look at Araneta is claiming to be an owner of that Colosseum. Look at the title. If you can see that the original came from OCT 01-4 and the title originated from 1864, then it might be true. But I tell you, it's not true. Okay? And you can only say and discuss it in court, not in radio programs, not in TV programs. There must be a third party that will be a neutral or legal foundation. But again, as I've said, my question is, why is it in Senate Report number 20, all the foreclosed OCTs, okay, is being claimed by the Republic of the Philippines, which cannot be done. The heir of the Acopiado, they're still alive, okay, not dead, as assumed by most oligarchs and the people in government. They are still alive. See? So again, the issue here, as I've said, it's not domestic. The issue here of return of the property, land, and the commodities is basically international, starting in 1950 and also followed up in 1976 and follow up in 2015. Maybe you could see the court order made by what we call this, in August 11, 1976. Fred Ruiz Castro. He was banking on the initiation of all four international courts. The one I mentioned is the ICJ. The last one is the International Security Council. And there are two more that I cannot recall. But those are all international courts. Now, again, why is it that we cannot claim Sabah? Because as mentioned by the court itself, the government must cooperate with the true owner and go to the ICJ. See, the problem was West Philippine Sea. They are not mentioning the true title of the Republic, the Philippine Archipelago. See, there was a change basically under the PD 1143. And President Marcos wanted to change the the measurements of the Philippine archipelago. The original registered land title registered under the Torrent system is 4 parcel. Okay? Number 1 parcel is Luzon. Number 2 parcel is Visayas. Number 3 parcel is Mindanao. Number 4 parcel are basically Sabah, Hulu, Zamboanga, Turtle Island, Palawan, Kalayaan, and Spratlys. The other land, which is basically given back to Vietnam during the Washington Treaty, after the Paris Treaty, okay, was cleared by that, and it was paid already. So the reason for not saying the true and correct ownership is that most of the people in government or part of the oligarchs is trying to claim a lot of lands which they earn basically because they're earning lands. They're earning from that land and without paying the rightful owner, legal rightful owner. It's very quick, okay? If you own the land, you're a developer, no problem. That's why laws were given to you in favor of the one that had the money, even though you bought properties which is basically not yours. But if you buy those, then you develop it in housing, okay? So the owner will just run after the owner of the house, okay? And you cannot get it all. For example, the 244 hectares used by PhilInvest, okay, was ordered by the president, the DNR, and DNR made a title out of the 244 hectares, which has been used borrowed by the Bureau of Land, Bureau of Animal Industry. Okay, once after the creation of Port Bonifacio and run after by hold on. Okay, I'm saying eligible wife, okay? That is basically the problem of trying to disclose that the wife is eligible. You try to tell and ask the government the true ownership, the one that can issue a marriage certificate, and the government basically will not be blamed. The one that recognized that is the Bangko Sentral of the Philippines. Okay, that is the true legal administrator of the estate of Acopiado. Okay, again, if you try to persist on that, go to court and try to question the eligibility of the marriage of Acopiado, of Roberto Acopiado to Jocelyn Acopiado. Okay? And you can test that, of course, get the DNA of the children and the DNA of Roberto and the DNA of the mother. I guess it's a 50-50. And when you lose, okay, you'll be ready with the charges. Okay? Criminal and civil charges. So be ready. There's no problem. There are basically laws that could cure that. So if you want to persist in that basis, called it negative information, no problem. Just make it in legal form, not chismis. Okay? You have no uh, to test that. Just do it in court, then it's okay. Okay, you try to test it in court. That's what supposed to be the right procedure. Okay, not doing the false procedure. Okay, as if you're born in another planet. Do it. So what else would be the question? I like those questions. So I could answer that. So any other question that is not answerable, you ask them. I will try to answer it. Hopefully, correctly and legally. Based on the research that I did from the cases that was made by our Philippine courts, from the lower court, Court of First Instance, to the highest court, Supreme Court of the Philippines. So I like to know more of your questions so we could clear up the value. Hindi po. The land basically used for highways, like for example, the north diversion and the south diversion, no problem if it's free. Before, remember, when you use south diversion and north diversion, it's free. But the character, the imagination, the economic imagination of our government official became clear. So they wanted to have free maintenance, but the people will pay for it. So they have to use toll. And therefore, if you pay toll, that is a commercial undertaking. So therefore, it must, again, if the government wanted to use that, no problem, but they have to pay the right of way. However, the payment for the right of way is that for the people to use it for free. Now, if you say there is an overlap or a toll over the public road, then there must be additional for that company to be paid for by the user or by the contractor of that company to acopiado. Again, if they wanted to buy it, no problem. There was a decision made by the court. Called a possessor. What is a possessor and a squatter? Possessor has a title, but it's a fake title. Okay? The squatter doesn't have anything, just roof over their head or a wall or a carton that will cover them from rain. Okay? They're squatters. Now, to pay the possessor will pay 1/3 of the market value. It's only the land? No, including the building on the land. Okay? If you're a possessor, for example, you're Araneta, you're a Ortigas, you're a Ayala, you just pay 30% of the actual market value, and who will pay for that? Again, you go for the good accountant, because if that is a capital expense, and then the capital expense will be deducted from your grand revenue, okay? And the ground revenue, it will lower down your net revenue. And therefore, the payment of the 30% will be paid by the government. Because anyway, that's their error anyway. See? So it will go around in cycles. Now, however, according to the court, as I've said, the initial investment, if there's a formal of agreement of installation or what do you call that? installment plan, 10% of the 30% paid for, made kopyado, okay, and the 90% will be installment. It's okay. That was the another plan of the government. However, if it's not paid 30%, then you cannot get the title, the right title. You have to pay the 30%. Again, the building, facilities on land, and the land itself. So, for example, the food of the soil, which is Civil Code Article 411, if I'm not mistaken. The food of the soil, the one that's on top of the soil, the owner is the landowner. The food of the soil under the soil is also owned by the landowner, like minerals, like the oil, but it was changed by people in government. Okay, they are trying to say that the food of the soil underground is theirs. For example, lakes, for example, they created administration and they think that the lake is theirs. No, they're not. It's owned by the landowner because the water is on top of the land that they own. Okay? So go ahead and ask a lot of questions. I like those questions. Let me clarify those questions. Hopefully I can at a given time. Now, as I've said, what can be done? Will you show the document? Yes, I can show the document. But those are important documents. Because again, Xerox basically is a factual copy of the real document. Now, if you try, the government to try, okay, there's a rule says that you must look for the authenticated copy. But if you cannot, if it is lost, then you can go to the forensic analysis. Okay? There is no stopping to prove the truth, the legal truth. Okay? So let us see. I cannot read some of the text. Hold on, please. Hold on, please. Let me read it. Okay. The 1970 says, the national economy, okay? The land and the public domain and waters. That's a problem. Look at the civil code of the Philippines. This is again the civil code of the Philippines. If you change that, you're basically changing the civil code. So who owns the land? We're just following the civil code. Okay? And if the government wanted to change that status, then buy it from the rightful owner. You cannot just change it. Again, as I've said, it is not an issue right now on domestic issue. It's basically an international issue. So let us test. If they wanted to test it, then go to the ICJ. If they wanted to test it. See? That's a problem. Remember, again, the primary concern of the Bill of Rights is the ownership. But if your ownership has been captured by the rules of certain articles of the Constitution, then there's a invalidation of the fundamental rights of the basic rights anyway. So if there's a change, there's a problem because it's counterproductive against the ownership. See? If you follow the right rule of the torrent system, you should see. I don't know if the framers of the 1987 knows the torrent system. Hopefully they do. See? And we will not have any problems of land ownership. See? Hopefully. Again, you see, I cannot read all of but I can, if I can read that, I can answer that, but it's true. Hold on, please. I cannot read some of hold on. Okay. Okay. Hold on, please. I cannot see the questions. Again, as I've said, all lands of the public domain. Again, all lands of the public. Again, the basic principle of public domain in the first place. If these framers of the of 1987 studied the cadastral rule, okay, then the Public Land Act has been terminated. If you further research on it, see, we will follow it, then we're violating basically the torrent system. See? Let me see who are the best framers of the Constitution. That's the problem. So our economies, they are basically economists. But if they don't know the rightful owner of the land, then people or the oligarchs are getting richer, okay, and the poorer gets poorer. There's no solution. There is no solution. Okay? Again, let's go back if you wanted to test about it. Again, a constitution, those are papers, but we have to rely on the best information, which basically all countries uses. Okay? As again, people that uses that is changing the rightful ownership of the land. If you own the land, okay, what is the production of the land is yours, not anybody else. For example, under Article 438, Article 438 says, if you find treasure on your building or land, the owner of the treasure is the owner of the property. And who found they call it Yamashita treasure? Is it President Marcos? No, he's not. If he tried to own it, he's violating the constitutional right of the owner of the land. And he knows the owner of the land since 1948 because he was then the legal counsel of the owner of the land. Okay? So we're trying to say he got richer because he found the Yamashita treasure. Even if Rojas found this golden Buddha, that is not his. It's the owner is the owner of the land, not Rojas. See, there's a twist of ownership. See, there's a problem. Always a problem. If you don't consider the one that is being used by most of the nations to divide the land legally, then there's a problem. Okay? So, anything I could do, I think you have my email. Please touch base with Miss Cathy Cruz to provide you with some information and write me that I can answer you back, okay, with confidence under the legal format of the torrent system and some international law. Some people say, oh, it's only domestic. No, sir. It's international, since we use basically the bilateral minefield, because the bilateral minefield is the loan agreement between the United States and Acopiado, but guaranteed the return by the Republic of the Philippines. Okay? And that's why ICJ is getting to be active in the return of the asset of Acopiado. If you have not read that, then I guess there is a law which is FOI in the United States. In the Philippines, there's none. There is an executive order, but executive order is not a law. Okay, it engages to project to the Congress to make a law, but there's no law in the Philippines FOI. But there is a engagement under the Constitution. But if there's no law, we cannot force the issue. But in the United States, there is a FOI law. That's why we can get much of the information. Okay? That's why my suggestion during the time of President Mrs. Imelda Marcos, when she won on Graf and the what do you call that, New York court, the good lawyer of Mrs. Marcos, using the FOI, got part of that bilateral minefield. But that bilateral minefield is a private property. It's built on private trust. So if President Marcos changed those things, he cannot change the original bilateral minefield successor breakthrough agreement. So you cannot claim it. Nobody can. Okay? So hopefully I can see most of your questions. I cannot answer it. I cannot read it. Okay. Again, it's getting late, but I want to appreciate the time and effort of the station and the broadcast company under DJ Cathy Cruz that provided me some opportunity to discuss the legal and true ownership of the Philippine archipelago. And people that would act as a representative of the Acopiado estate, okay, Acopiado estate, I guess they have to be ready. Even the sisters and the brothers, they have to prove themselves. If they have several lawyers, then prove it. Do it in court. Not just a membership, okay? If you promise people that they can get a title, be sure, okay? But if you make a donation for a donation of a title or a land, you will pay 2%, okay, in taxes for donation fee. It's not free. So if you promise people that will be members of your group, then watch out, because it's not really free. Okay, you have to pay the government. Once you pay the government donation, then it will not stop, because there is a yearly amortization of the land. So you make the land productive. Again, there's also a saying, a policy that give land for the homeless, give land for the landless. Wrong, because the land, okay, is getting to be smaller, okay, and people are getting to be, the population is getting to be larger, and where will you get the land to plant food? Give homes for the homeless, not land for the landless. So if you copy the right proposition. Home for the homeless and not land for the landless. Okay? Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present the side, the true and legal owner of the Philippine archipelago. Hopefully, we can save again Sabah, because they're getting a lot of minerals and gas and fuel in Sabah. Okay? And a lot of areas in the Philippines are being captured or run by foreigners. It's okay, no problem. For as long as the people get its share, rightful share of the revenues based on the proper economic cycle of our Philippine economy. Okay? And again, thank you very much. Till next week, I will discuss more about the error made by LRA through its agency, the deeds of every place, because they are agents of the LRA. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Kasaysayan sa puntong legal. Inyong natunghayan ang palatuntunang Kasaysayan sa puntong legal. Hanggang sa muling pagtatanghal, Kasaysayan sa puntong legal. Handog sa inyo ng economic researcher Ben Garcia.